The job of a recruitment agency does not end after the candidates have been placed. And this is one of the mistakes that a lot of recruitment agencies are currently doing that is costing them at least two other candidates. Because imagine if a candidate gets ghosted after they have been placed. Your agency just stops being the top of their head. Your agency just disappears from them. They don't remember. As compared to the agency that keeps reaching out, keeps trying to get make sure that that relationship is going on. That agency becomes the first agency that they think about when the next person in their life wants to get a job, their family members, their friends. That agency is the first that they would prefer because they're like, oh, this agency really cares about me. Even after they have placed me, they still reach out to get to know about how I'm doing and everything. And that was system is the system I'm going to show you how to build today from scratch. Because I understand that reaching out to, recruiters taking out the time to reach out to candidates that have already been placed can be a lot of work for recruiters. And this builds up with time when we have at least 100 candidates that we have placed. It builds up. So let me show you a system that you can use to, get some of that work done without necessarily eating into too much of the recruiter's time every day. So let's just get right into it. So we are going to be building this system from scratch, right from the brainstorming to the drawing out the workflow on paper to actually getting the database up and running and then building that in our system and having a system up and working. So, and even if this is not a system that you're trying to build in your agency, the ideas here are things that you can transfer to other systems that you're trying to build in your recruitment agency. So you might want to stick around. So first things first, let's get what we have in our head into our a paper or into paper first. If you have not watched that video, you might want to go out and check how you can get started with automation because that's where and a lot of the things are being discussed. So like we said, the first thing that we want to do is draw us workflow on paper so that we clearly understand the triggers, the inputs, the outputs, everything that we need to know before we even go in and build. So the first thing that we need is of course going to be a diagram. I like to use something like this. I like to look like a triangle. Just pick the wrong thing. Yeah, so the first thing that we want to do is okay, we want to have something that's scheduled. So every maybe we are going to do every week, or we'll do every month, or we'll do every day, whatever works, right? So, but what's important is that we need a scheduler, right? Okay, so we need a scheduler here. So I will not spell this correctly. So scheduler. Right? So once we are able to decide if we want to do it every day or every month, the next thing that we are going to do is make once it starts running, we want the trigger to be for it to go and search our database. That's the next thing we want to do. So when it's time for it to run, right, it just goes and searches our database. So in this case, we'll just search database. So the next thing that we want is okay, it has searched our database. We want it to, because ideally the kind of message that we send day one after they have been placed is going to most likely be different from the message that we send maybe like 3 months after they have been placed and 6 months after they have been placed. So we need to be able to tell how long it has been since they were placed so that that guy will be able to use that to decide what kind of message we're going to be sending to them. So to be able to do that, we are going to need something like maybe a variable setter or something that sets variable for us. So once we are able to set our variable, the next thing is we now move, we now have like something that would differentiate it. So like maybe like say a router, right? So from the router, we can now say, okay, let's do this. So how many times do we want to reach out to them before we close them out and just keep them around for like other messages like what do we call it, like new month messages and all those other things, newsletters. But when it comes to checking in with their placement, we can do 3 times. Can do say 1 month here. So let's say we can do 7 days after their placement. 1 month is too long, and then the next thing we can do like 3 months after their placement, and then the next thing we can do like 6 months after their placement. Of course, I'm just using this for me. For your agency, you would decide what works for you and what is better. So once we are able to decide what the time has been since, how long it has been since we placed them, the next thing that we want to do is generate a message for them. So depending, we can be like, okay, the first message can be like checking in at the perks, or maybe are there any red flags? Is this company okay? Is there anything that you want, that we can talk to the client or the company to, get it for you, or like they were supposed to get perks. Have you been able to get the perks for the job? If they said they were going to maybe like devices and all of that, have you been able to get it? Did they come through with the promises they made for to you? If not, how can we come in and help and all of that? So, and it just depends on your agency. You're running agency, so you know what how the messages, how the message should look like. So we generate that email with our message, and then we draft it, right? We create a draft. So we say create draft email. Alternatively, we can just directly send it, but just for a two-factor authentication. Just for a two-factor authentication, it's just better to create a draft and then notify the recruiter that is in charge of that candidate, so that the recruiter can go and review the message before sending it. So it's still going to be the same process for 3 months. It's just that the messaging here is going to be slightly different, and 6 months as well. So I think here this is what we are going to be working with. So this is what the system will look like. So let's just go in and try to build this. But before I start building this, I need to build a database for myself, because I don't currently have one, because I don't run a recruitment agency. But if you're running a recruitment agency, I'm sure you already have one. So you are just going to go in and start building this with your existing database. But I don't have one, so I'm going to use spreadsheet to build like a demo database for this particular system. So I'm going to call this say placement, and the first thing that I'm going to need here is candidate ID, because like in the database, I'm sure like you have like a unique identifier. The ID can be their Gmail or their email or whatever. Just there, you can have like a unique identifier for all your candidates, so that it's easy to search the database. So we just need that. So the next thing that we need is of course the name and maybe the email, and then the role that they are in, or the role that they were placed in, and then the client. This will of course the clients that they will place to, and then the and then when they started, so we say the start date that they started the placement, and then the recruiter that is in charge of that candidate, and then the status. So depending, so the status here can be, is the placement still active, or if it was like a temporary placement, and the placement ended, or is it pending, or has it been terminated, whatever. So we just know that this will always know all the candidates that we have ever placed, and if they're still in their role, if they're still active in the role that we placed them, or if they have been moved, or if they have quit the job, or that way. This just gives us an added data to be able to tell what our success rate is like with candidates. Because if we have placed, like say 100 candidates and only 10 of them are still active at the end of the day, it means our success rate, like our placement skills, needs to be re-evaluated. So you understand that this status can also give recruitment agencies data to work with when they're doing like their meeting on overview and all of that. So now that we have this, I'm just going to put one sample data here. Now I've gone ahead to fill this, so I just have one candidate here. I'm going to use to build the system and test the system. So now we are going to go into our tool and start building this out. So what you're going to use for this build is make.com, but you can use Zapier or anything, whatever works. But this particular demo is on make.com. Isn't big, because make.com is quite on the intermediate side. Anybody that is new to automations can still get a hang of make.com. So that's why I always recommend make.com for agencies that are trying to get started with automation by themselves. So I'm going to create a scenario here. So the first thing for me is going to be for it to search a role. Like you can see in my system here, the first thing that I have is actually a scheduler. But then the scheduler is just here, how many times it's going to run. So that's where I'm going to be able to set up my scheduler. So now I'm just going to move to the next step, which is actually going to be searching my database. So in this case, I'm using spreadsheet. Let me rename this so that I'll be able to do this. Candidate placement. Candidate. So now that I've renamed that, let me go back to my, so what I'm going to do here is search roles. So my connection already exists. If yours does, you just do add here, add your, rename your connection if you want to, then sign in with Google, and you'll be able to establish your connection. So now that we have that, I'm just going to come here and search for my spreadsheet name, which is candidate, yeah, right here. So what I'm searching for is of course placement. And um, what I'm trying to filter by is the candidates that their status are still active. Because the only thing I want to do here is message candidates that their roles are still active. I don't want to message candidates that their roles are no longer active, like maybe they have been terminated or suspended. Those ones are different, set up to handle that. But this particular one is only for those that are still in their current role, because we are trying to check in with them to be sure that their placement is okay and they are working their dream job. So we'll do status here, and then we do equal to, we do active. So I like to do equal to case insensitive, just in case, because sometimes it becomes in, okay? So now I'm going to set my limit. If you want to, you can set it to 1, 2, depending on how many candidates you have in your own database. Of course, it can be as high as 100, whatever. That's there's really no limit to this. So you can save this, and then of course always remember to save your entire scenario. So like we have here, the next thing that we want to do is set our variable, because this is how we are able to tell how many days it has been since we placed them. So that will now determine how our message looks when the kind of message that we send to them. So I'm going to come back here, and then we're going to do set variable. So set variable allows you to calculate the time difference that it has been since you place them, and when the scenario is running, that's when it's reaching out to them. So we are going to go ahead right now and set up a variable. Here we can say mm, last placement or placement date. You can call the variable whatever you want to call, and the value is now what is very, very important. This is what I have. I like to paste it somewhere, so I just copy and put here, because I struggle to get these braces right in my own PC. So I like to put it somewhere, then copy it in here, because I struggle to get it right. So what this simply just means is that we are trying to get now, which is the day, which is the current time and date here, and then we are going to subtract the start date, which is the date that the candidate started from, the now, and then we'll see how many days that's been since we place that candidate, and we are going to convert that, because make always counts this in milliseconds. So it's going to give you, so that's why we need to calculate this 1000 milliseconds and then 60 minutes and 60 seconds, milliseconds, and then we have the 60 seconds, and then we have the 60 minutes, and multiply by 24 hours and make a day. So this is how we are going to be able to get how many days it has been since we placed that particular candidate. So I'm going to save this. And one thing that you see here, you can see that whenever you're taking now, it takes time and date. So it does not just take only the date, it also takes the time. So we are going to go into our system and also put like a time. Although if we don't put a time, it just works with 1200. So let's just run it and see what we are going to get first before we can decide if we want to put that. So let's run this one time. So let's see what we get here. We can see 42 days, and what is our start date? We put here to be 1st of June 2026. So, and it has been 30 days of June, and then 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. So you can see that this is very correct. It's actually been 42 days since 6th of since 1st of June. So that is very correct. So we do not need to add the time there again. It works perfectly. So now the next thing that we're going to do is, figure add our router. Like you can see here now, the next thing that is remaining is our router. So we go ahead and add a module, and then we add our router. This here is our router. So we add it there. And then our first one is going to be, say, 7 days. Like I said, you can switch this up, change it to whatever works for you. So the condition is now going to be if this is equal to, and we're going to do numeric because it's going to be numbers. So we need, this is text. So we need numeric matches. So where is it now? This is text. This is the numeric. So we say equal to. So we do equal to, and we do 7. In this case, let us do 7. So we save this, and then the next thing that we are going to call is going to be 30 days. 30 days. And then in this case, we are going to do if this, and then we do our normal numeric, and we do our normal numeric search, right? This is numeric equal to, then we do our 30, and then we save, and we add the last one, which is going to be, how many days is it in 6 months? Please do the math. Which is going to be, which is going to be on, so 6 months is going to be 180, right? Correct? Yeah, I think so. 6 times 30. I'm calculating 30. I'm not calculating like the months that may have 31 days. Let's just be safe and do 180. So we are going to do placement date here, and we do numeric operator, and we do equal to, then we do 180. Right, so we save this. So now we have our 7 days, our 1 month, and then our 6 months. So the next thing that we are going to do now is get our AI module to generate the message that we want. So we are going to call our AI module in this case, and what are we looking for? OpenAI. So we're going to generate a completion here, and my connection already exists, as you can see, but if yours doesn't, just click add, and you'll be able to, you go to this billings page, you'll be able to add your credit details, and then you'll be able to generate your API key as well as your organization ID. So the next thing that you're going to do here is choose your module. I like to go a little lower for test purposes, but of course, if you're trying to get this up and running, you might want to change this. And our message here, and this is what my message is going to look like. You might, switch this for any other thing. You are going to say you are. I want you to write a follow-up message. I want you to draft a candidate check-in message for my successfully placed candidate with details in the we details in the with the details with candidates, successfully placed candidates. Mm. So I want it to return it as an HTML. I want it to return the, the final product as an HTML, so that it will be better formatted in the recipient's inbox, right? So I will say return as a HTML, as a properly formatted HTML, so it can look good in the recipient email inbox. Return just the HTML, no markdown, brackets, or word. So now that I have that, I'm going to, the role here, of course, should be the developer. And I'm going to add the user here, which is, of course, going to be the candidate details. So in this case, the name is going to come from here. The role will come from here. The kind will come from here, and then the days employed will come from here. So yeah, that's everything we are going to need here. We go ahead and save this particular one. I can just duplicate this scenario, so I'll do clone and bring it down here. My message will be different, so we're going to change that and bring it down here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one here. Delete this one here. So now we have all the AI scenarios, and we're just going to go in and change the messages for each of them. So we are just going to change this as well to this, and we are going to go ahead and draft our email in this case. So we are going to do email, and then we're going to do create a draft. Okay, so my connection has expired. Let me create a new one. So it's a Google restricted connection and it's a new connection. If you don't know how to create your connection, you I have a video in I will tag the video in the description. I'll put the link of the video in the description, but I have a video on my channel that goes a full breakdown of how to establish a Google connection. So I'm going to call this one my new Google connection. Of course, I turn on my advanced and I put in my candidates, my client secret here, and I also put in my client ID here. So I go ahead and save this. Yes, so my my connection has been established. So I'm going to create this in draft, and then I add a recipient, which is going to be the candidate's Gmail here, and the subject here is going to be maybe hi, just checking in, whatever we prefer, hi, just checking in, and then the content will come from here. Do our content here, and yeah, that's just about it. So we just go ahead and duplicate it down here. We clone, bring this down here. We clone and bring this down here, right? Make sure that we are tagging to the right thing. So now we have that, which remember to save this. Mm. And of course, make sure that your prompt is good and you can save and return only the body of the email so that it does not cluster them together, whichever works for your case. And then we come here and we notify the recruiter to go in and review the email and send it to the candidate. So we're going to use Slack here, and then we want to send the message. So we send this to the recruiter's channel, and then each recruiter already knows, we'll send it alongside with the candidate's details so that each recruiter will know who we are talking about. So we say, oh, we have created a follow-up for Sarah. So now James, will see the name of the recruiter in charge there. So James will know to go in and review that message and actually send out, right? So I'm going to, find my from my list here. I'm going to do this. And this is the channel I was saying to. So this is like the recruiters channel where all recruiters are in, and then we can be like review the check-in draft, the check-in draft. Then we can add the person's name for Sarah. Then we will share email. Here's the details. We'll now say here. We'll now say here's the details. Then we can now say things like the email, and then we can now say recruiter in charge, and then you know, I mean, however format you want this message to be, you can as well put that in here. So now that we have that, we will save these. All we have to do now is just duplicate this to the other, you know, to the other conversations as well. So we go ahead and we save this entire scenario. And I'm just going to change this one here to, um, you know what, how many days has it been since 30 days? So let's take this back to 12. So let's do 12 and see. If we do 12 here, does it give us 30? We are going to find out. So let us run the system one time to see if we are going to get. Okay, so what did we get here? 31. So 12 didn't give us that. So that 13 is what's going to give us 30 days. So 13, and then we run this again. Yeah, so it has gone through the 30 days. It's currently generating the message here. So it has gone ahead to create the draft and it has gone to notify the team. So let's check what this is looking like in our inbox. Now let's also check what this is looking like in our Slack channel. So we come down here to draft and then we'll see this. Okay, I hope you're doing well. Can you believe it's been almost 30 days since you started at ABC? Time really flies when you are immersed in great work. How has your onboarding experience been so far? Are the projects and day-to-day responsibilities matching up with what you expected when we first spoke? I want to make sure you're settling in smoothly and everything is on track. Please feel free to reach out, to share any honest feedback, whether it's something you loved or areas where we can improve. Your insights help me support as much your insights help me support you better as you continue to grow in your new role. I'm here for you. I'm here for anything you need, big or small. Looking forward to it. I feel like this is the best curated email ever. This is good. So you just have to come in here and we work, add your name, now James, just come in here, add James here and go ahead. The email has already been added here. Just go ahead and shoot this email. So let's see what the it looks like. You can see here now review the check-in draft for Sarah. Here are the details. So here's the, and then the recruiter in charge of this. So once this drops in, our platform, the recruiter that is in charge just goes in, reviews the draft. If it's good enough, just goes ahead to send this email. So now the check-in that we take, going to the database to source for the client, see who is to source for the candidates rather, see which candidate is still active, go in, draft the email or see the role that they have been placed on, draft an email for them, and then actually go and send it to them. So that task that used to take at least 20 to 30 minutes per candidate would now take just 2 to 3 minutes just to come here, review this, and send it. So that is, of course, the beauty of automating processes because it cuts down on a lot of the manual work and helps recruiters only focus on what is important, which is building relationships, cut down the operational work as much as possible so they can focus on building relationships with candidates, building relationships with clients, so that way they're able to place more candidates, get more candidates satisfied with their blessings, as well as being able to get more clients to the business. I really hope you found this useful. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment if you have any questions. And if you have a friend or a family member or someone that runs a recruitment agency, you might want to send this video to them because they'll be so grateful that you did, because they're going to be able to get back those candidates that they have been losing because they have not been able to build a better and more stronger relationship with their candidates after placing them. If you run a recruitment agency and you would want to cut down on the operational work that is currently going on, then you might want to schedule a strategy call with me. The link is going to be in the description. And with that being said, it's going to be a wrap for me. So I'll see you in my next one.